Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell.
Happy graduates came on the stage. They were given certificates. Girls were given flowers and boys were given small gifts. Dear graduates, Clara, smiling ingratiatingly, took under her arm a handsome 40-year-old man in a dark, expensive suit who entered the hall. Tonight would not be possible without our dear sponsor, Christian Wilson. Let's welcome him. Flowers and gifts for our graduates, provided by his firm. She was the first to applaud, led him to a place of honor among the guests, and sat down next to him. Pay attention to that girl over there. Nodded the director of the orphanage to the stage. Pretty, relaxed, the pride of our orphanage. A pleasant conversationalist can do a lot. Take a closer look. Not bad, quietly replied Wilson, appraising, looking at the graduate. But it's not the same. I'm tired of pretty faces in their 18, already gone through fire and water. I want a clean girl, not spoiled. She should be rustic, knave, but smart. I asked for a modest, simple girl, preferably pretty. Isabella Davis is invited to the stage. The hostess has announced. Who's that? Squinting, the man asked, scrutinizing the girl, who, smiling embarrassedly, approached the host. How come I've never seen her before? Well, Clara hesitated. She's so unassuming you wouldn't even look at her if it weren't for graduation. She's pretty sure, but she's very modest. She's a headache. Believe me, she can't do anything. She's hardly interesting to you as a woman. Clara got nervous. Trouble is, I thought she wouldn't notice Isabella. I had dressed her in a low-colored outfit, but the devil had noticed. The headmistress was upset because of the pupil. She loved her maternally and did not want the fate that was prepared by the dear guest. I'll decide who I'm interested in and who I'm not. Wilson cut her off abruptly. Just such a type, the limit of my dreams. Did you hide her on purpose? He looked suspiciously at the director. Don't disappoint me. You know I don't tolerate games behind my back. I thought that little gray mouse couldn't be the centerpiece of your house. How can she be dignified at social gatherings? She'll embarrass you. Believe me, she'll bring you grief. Meanwhile, the festivities are over. Christian, Clara have secluded themselves in the principal's office. I'm taking Isabella away from you. In an expensive leather armchair, the man said. I liked her right away. Listen. Clara frantically searched for a reason to refuse. She's just a girl, knave, unintelligent, but what if I sent Lisa with you? She's a quick-witted, skillful girl. I think she's closer to you than Isabella. I'm afraid she'll disappoint you. Clara was not in vain nervous. Her guest was a lover of young girls who had just finished school. The woman realized that, despite the unruly, cocky character, Isabella will not be able to fight back. Don't be so shaky. Christian grinned. Your son is safe as long as you honor our arrangements. Yes, I'll do as you say. I'm glad we understand each other. The man smiled sweetly and threw some bills on the table. This is for you to ease your conscience. I didn't realize you were so sentimental. If you care so much about this Isabella, it means I didn't make the wrong choice. He left, and Clara sat down at the table, dropped her head on her hands, and fell silent. What a scoundrel! What a lecher! She muttered to herself. I am good. I could not defend the girl. My heart is not in place. I am so worried about Isabella. But what can I do? Two dear people are at stake, and yet my son's freedom is more precious. The way things are, I can't let my child go to prison. And Isabella, God forgive me, I'm a sinner. In the morning, Clara went to the dining room where the inmates were having breakfast. Isabella, come here, please. "Yes, Clara." Trustingly, looking into the eyes of the director, the girl replied. The woman looked away, uncomfortable with the upcoming conversation, but Wilson cornered her. "And what are those people in strict suits doing here? Who are they waiting for?" Isabella asked, entering the principal's office. "Isabella." The woman paused. There was a struggle going on inside her, but she knew that the mother would win and the principal would fulfill the wish of the man who sponsored all the big events at the orphanage. "I'm very happy that you graduated from high school. You are the pride of this year's graduating class. I know you have big plans for your future, but you will have to put them on hold." "Why?" The girl looked at the principal, puzzled. "Wilson is waiting for you at his house." "Wilson? Our guest from yesterday?" Clara nodded. She was visibly nervous. "Why does he need me? I don't understand." "What don't you understand?" The headmaster suddenly shouted in a trembling voice. "Didn't you hear anything about him from our girls' graduates? He liked you." "I've heard something in passing." Isabella slowly began to realize what had been said. "But I don't like him. I don't want to go out with him. One of the girls wanted to go to his house. I don't remember. Let them go in my place. I don't want to be his concubine." "You can't refuse," tiredly said Clara. "He won't give up. If anything, he's made up his mind. I'm not going to go to him. You have no right to force me." The girl rushed to the door, swung it open. The exit was blocked by stout young men. They stared silently at Isabella, ready to twist her at any moment if necessary. She slammed the door shut and turned to the principal. "How can you do this to us? I mean, he's old. Have you sold out for money?" "You don't understand anything." Clara, nervously biting her lips, wrapped her arms around herself as if trying to keep warm. "He's a scary man and I'm on the hook for him. A few years ago, he saved my son, got him out of jail, my boy's freedom. That's the trump card Wilson is using, and I'm powerless. I can't fight back. He's blackmailing me. One day you'll be a mother, and you'll realize you'd sell yourself to the bald man for your child to be happy. So there's no chance of me getting out of here. Those are his guards at the door. I wanted to spare you from that fate, but he wanted someone just like you. He said he wanted a naive, modest girl, and God gave you beauty and intelligence to ruin. How many girls did he have in his collection? You're the fourth. And where did they go? Do you know what happened to them after they were in the hands of this Wilson?" I don't know anything about their fate." Clara looked pityingly at Isabella. "I haven't tried to find out. So you send 18-year-old girls to a grown man and just forget about their fate. How's that? Doesn't it make you feel bad?" I'm sorry. Tears came to the woman's eyes. They agreed at once. No one resisted. She grasped Isabella's hand and spoke eagerly. If I could stop him, but my son's freedom is in his hands. You will understand me when you are a mother yourself. You'd better accept it. He won't back down. He's a scary man. He'll stop at nothing. Even if I tried to report him to the police, he'd get away with it. It's all been bought." Isabella stood for a moment, looking into the headmaster's eyes. In them, except fear and entreaty, she read nothing else, then pulled her hand out of the hands of Claire, abruptly opened the door and said loudly, "Well, if there's no escaping fate, let's take it as it comes. Let's go, boys." Isabella was returning from school, not far from the house, noticed her grandmother, caught up with her mother, who leaned with her back against the fence, sat looking at the surrounding with meaningless eyes. The girl slowed her step and stopped. Well, stood up like a stumbling block. Vanessa shouted, "Help your mother to the bed. I can't do it alone. You see, she's drunk again. Lord, when will it all end? Make sense of my foolish daughter. When will you get drunk on this vodka? Isabella obediently came and took her mother under her arm, but she couldn't hold her and dropped her on the ground. Oh, you bastard! Grandmother hit her, dry fist in the shoulder. Quite sensitively, the girl wrinkled from the pain. You can't hold your mother, hold her tight. The two of them dragged the mother to the bed. You didn't watch her again. The old woman scolded her granddaughter. I told you not to let her out of the house. I was at school. How could I watch her? Justified the girl. We left the house together in the morning. She said she went to work. What kind of job? She was fired last week. What am I going to do with them? The old woman cried. Both of them and their husbands drink like crazy, and you can't help them. Did you go for bread? No, I didn't have time. I'll be right back. Isabella ran out of the house, afraid she'd get another beating from her grandmother. Isabella, a neighbor met her. There's your father lying by the store. You should pick him up. The girl hurried to the store. Her father was lying on the side, sleeping soundly. Daddy. Isabella shook him by the shoulder. You won't wake him up. Some man said confidently. And how can I bring him home? The girl was confused. Don't be sad, we'll help you. The man bent down, pulled her father by the arm and put him on the ground, then picked him up, threw him on his shoulder and dragged him. Isabella ran after him. Receive. Entering the house and breathing heavily, the stranger spoke. He carefully lowered his heavy burden onto the couch, straightened up, took a breath, and left. Where did you find him? Vanessa asked, making her father comfortable on the couch. Outside the store, he was asleep. The man volunteered to help. I didn't even ask. The world is not without kind people. Did you buy bread? The old woman caught on. No, I had to come back because of my father. You wretch! The grandmother swung and pulled on her granddaughter's back with the towel she held in her hands. Isabella quickly rushed into the store. What are you going to kill Isabella for? A neighbor showed up on the doorstep. You're out of control. Granny grumbled. No wonder, parents who do not dry out for a day. The child is not needed at all. Somehow she's still studying well. Another girl in her place would have abandoned everything long ago. Yes, it's a pity about the girl. The neighbor lamented. You should caress her. The girl lacks love and affection. One day she won't be able to stand it and will do something. That's why we have to keep a tight grip on her, so that she grows up strictly, or else she'll go down a crooked path like her parents. Wash the floors. She told her granddaughter when she returned from the store. You've trampled here. I have no strength left. Okay, Grandma. The girl obediently took a bucket and a rag. You're driving the girl crazy. The neighbor reproached the grandmother. She doesn't hear a kind word from you. Is it her fault that both parents have gone crazy? None of your business. The old woman replied glumly. I can't cope alone, and parents are of little use. You should take pity on her. The friend lamented. But what is the use of that pity? Then she will thank me for teaching her everything. The mother should be an example, but not fate. Both of them should be deprived of parental rights. I don't think so. It's better to live at home with them than in an orphanage. The neighbor shook her head disapprovingly and went away. Grandma, can Cindy come to my birthday party? Isabella asked one day. She was going to be 13 in 2 days. Think about it. Where are you going to invite guests? Grandma frowned. Parents won't let them stay. They just want an excuse to get drunk. Then you'll be embarrassed. We'll lock ourselves in my room. No one will hear us. Please, Grandma. All right, Vanessa muttered. Just don't tell your parents. Maybe you'll get away with it. I'll make you something tasty." The grandmother hoped in vain that the mother would not remember about her daughter. She came in the evening with a bottle of wine, set the table. She ordered her mother, shaking her hand, pouring vodka into a glass. "Would you not spoil the party, Isabella?" asked the older woman. "She has a guest. I have the right to drink to my daughter's health, and you are not my order. I gave birth to her. That's a good reason to have another drink. I drink with my own money. I'm not borrowing it from you. Can I have an appetizer? You'd better replace the electric stove. The wire's getting hot. It's not a bad thing. You're always dissatisfied with something." Angrily said the woman, "You need, you buy, but I have no money. When I get a job, then everything will be. But until then, do not bother me. You and your husband will always have money for vodka." Vanessa grumbled, serving a simple appetizer. Isabella and her friend sat in the room for a while, watched cartoons, played, and went home. The girl was glad that her mother did not make a scandal like last year when Isabella invited her friends, and in no way expected that her mother would come home drunk from work and roughly disperse the whole company. The girl at that moment was ready to fall to the ground with shame. In the morning, she kissed her grandmother and ran off to school. "Do not delay. I'm boiling borscht with your favorite garlic buns." The old woman shouted after her. "Okay, Grandma." The day was going great. Isabella was in a hurry to get home. She was walking, facing the spring sunshine, and humming a cheerful song to herself. "Wow!" Approaching the house, suddenly noticed Isabella. An uneasiness stirred in her soul. Was there a fire? There were people in the street, cars, ambulances, firemen. "Do you know who has a fire?" She asked a woman who was trying to see what was going on up ahead. "Isabella." The neighbor looked at her fearfully. "Your house is on fire. How?" The girl was dumbfounded and rushed through the crowd. "Where?" Someone called her and tried to hold her back. Don't go to the ashes, stop. Let me go, my mom's there." They grabbed her, held her down. She started to break free. "Grandma, Daddy, let me go. Why are you standing there?" "We have to save her." She screamed, trying to break free from the tight embrace. "I have to go to them." "Isabella, they're dead." A man's strong arms shook her. "You can't go in there, do you hear me?" "They're gone." "Yes, they are. Why are you standing there? Why aren't you helping?" "They can't be dead." "Don't you understand? They're out there. I'll find them." "Let me go, please." The girl suddenly weakened, slipped out of my arms, sat down on the grass and wept. She raised her head to the sky. "Mommy." The soul-crushing scream rose above the flames and vanished into the sky. Everyone standing around her was heartbroken by the cry. Women wiped their tears with handkerchiefs, men gritted their teeth, and looked sympathetically at the little girl's grief. People were quietly talking among themselves, watching the fire being doused. Suddenly it flared up, and I looked, and it was going up in flames. No one escaped. The firemen came quickly, but there was nothing they could do. They flooded to keep the flames from spreading to other buildings. Do we know what caused it? The cops said it was faulty wiring. Vanessa complained that the electric stove was sparking, but who'd listen to her? All dead. Good thing the girl was at school, or she would have been too. Why did the ambulance come? They thought they could save someone, but there. What a grief! I feel sorry for Isabella. Now she'll go to an orphanage. The girl sat in the grass and stared blankly at the house, tears running down her cheeks. She could not understand that she was left alone, without a home, without relatives. "Come on, sweetheart." Someone lifted her up. There's no reason for you to sit here. Come and stay with us until the child welfare authorities get here. You must be hungry. Grandma promised me borscht. Swallowing tears, quietly said the girl. Poor you? Poor orphan. How unlucky you are. The neighbor shook her head. Isabella followed her obediently. Her strength to cry was gone, and there was a persistent smell of burning in her nose. She collapsed on the offered sofa, curled up in a ball under the blanket, and cried quietly. No, I don't believe it. It can't be. Mom, Dad, and the always nagging Grandma. There is no one. How can I go on living? You cry, sweetheart. An old woman stroked her head. You'll feel better. God willing, everything in life will get better. She sighed heavily. The girls were fidgeting in front of the mirror, trying on dresses for the graduation ceremony. The exams were finally behind them. Isabella looked dreamily at her reflection. I thought they would never end. Now we are free. You see, no tutors, no scheduled breakfasts, no getting up, no going to bed, but life will begin. Isabella, you're so beautiful. The girlfriend did not take her admiring eyes off the girl. You'd say so too. Isabella looked at herself in the mirror. I can't believe we've known each other for only 5 years. Yes, she laughed. It seems like a lifetime. She ran over to Kelly and hugged her tightly. You know, as strange as it sounds, I'm glad you ended up in our orphanage. I was always jealous. You're lucky to remember your parents. Yeah, lucky. I just remember them, always drunk. I never even knew mine. Do you remember when we were friends? Of course I remember. And Isabella got sad. The ritual, the new girl's registration. Everyone was laughing, and I was on the floor with a broken nose. You were the only one who stood up for me. From that day on, no one ever tried to mess with you again. Of course, because you fought like a tiger. Isabella laughed. I'm sorry we have to break up. I'll miss you. But we'll correspond. We'll return phone calls. I'll definitely come visit as soon as I get settled, and you come too. You finally decided to go to modeling school. Haven't you changed your mind? Well, can you imagine what awaits you there? Yes, the girl dreamily spun around the room. It's not for nothing that I earned my portfolio. Tried to participate in all the events. I hope they'll help me get through the competition. Yeah, with your looks, you could be an actress, not just a model. Juliet would be amazing in your performance. In our amateur talent show, you're unrivaled. Don't exaggerate. Isabella was embarrassed by the flattery. We have a lot of talented kids here. Thanks to her, my literacy is invisible. She made me participate in all Olympiads and events. Lucky you, Isabella. You know what you want to get out of life? Well, Isabella hugged her friend. Why are you so sad? We'll be fine, and you'll find yourself. Shall we go to the auditorium? They're giving out diplomas now. They say Wilson has prepared such presents for us. I can't wait to see them. The girls went to the auditorium that were already in full swing handing out certificates. Look, whispered in my friend's ear. Wilson here at the age, and yet nothing like that. Attractive and in good shape, his peers have long since grown their bellies, and this one is watching himself, and still that walker, not a single beautiful woman will not miss. The girl laughed, and still not married. I'd like to see the one he will marry. Who is she, anyway? Isabella asked, looking at the tall, broad-shouldered man with the piercing look in his blue eyes. You're crazy. The girl was surprised. This is the local patron of the arts. Everything we have in the orphanage is his merit. He gave us a computer class last year. Look at him. He's very handsome. Many of our girls have a crush on him. Uh-huh. agreed Isabella. But it's old. What do they see in it? You don't know anything about men. At this age they are at their best. And what does it matter how old he is? Hotly whispered in her ear friend. If he has money, chickens do not peck. Anybody with him, like behind a stone back, a dream, not a man. How do you know? Isabella looked at her friend suspiciously. We're waiting for Isabella Davis. The girlfriend suddenly heard. Go. Isabella pushed Isabella, the girl. It's your turn. Imagine you're on the runway. Show everyone what the first beauty of our orphanage should look like. Let them gasp at your attractiveness. The girl walked to the stage. Returning to her seat, she felt the stares on her. Wilson was looking at Isabella in a way that made her uncomfortable. Why is he looking at me so strangely? She thought, and shivered under the predatory gaze of his blue eyes. It's like he's undressing me. I wouldn't want to be alone with him. Huh? She restrained herself. I thought, why would he want me? But Isabella was not mistaken. Christian was staring at her with a greedy gaze. I must have her. The man thought, gazing at the girl. Very nice. He smiled, satisfied, anticipating a night in the arms of the young beauty. Isabella felt uncomfortable, in the company of three scowling, taciturn men. Where are we going? The girl could not bear the long silence, trying not to show how frightened she was. Christian's country house. The man was silent. If you behave well, the owner will not offend. He likes obedient young ladies. The men laughed. It depends on what he expects from me. The girl thought to herself. One thing is clear, there's no point in begging him to let me go, and I'm not going to snot. Rose-colored glasses also long ago removed. I understand, not tea drinking invited. The only thing left is to accept the situation as it is, and then think how to get out of it. It's okay, I'll be able to stand up for myself. If you cannot escape from fate, you must take a chance, try to get out of poverty, so that no Wilson in the future no longer dare to drool at the sight of me and offer all sorts of abominations. I'm strong, I can handle this old man who likes young girls. I'll make him dance to my tune. I won't give up so easily. He doesn't expect to get me on a silver platter. Life in an orphanage had taught me a thing or two. And yet Isabella was scared, her heart clenched uneasily from the unknown. Here we are. The driver announced, stopping the car in the yard of a huge country house. Come. The guard opened the door in front of her. Christian is waiting. If you'll be good, you'll even like to be his guest. The man laughed, casting an expressive glance at her gorgeous body. Isabella entered the Wilson house and looked around in a hostess-like manner. Quite an environment, she thought. Plenty of room to spread out. Her courage was ostentatious. She tried not to think about what awaited her in the house. Isabella! Christian, opening his arms, went to meet his guest. I'm glad you agreed to accept my invitation. I'm honored. You may not believe me, but when I saw you on stage, I realized that this is the woman I have dreamed of all my life. You captured my heart from the very first minute. I promise you won't regret coming here. As I approached her, I grabbed her in his arms and began to cover her with passionate kisses. Christian. Isabella let him kiss her, and then slipped out of his embrace. Is that any way to welcome a guest? Especially a woman. She smiled slyly, though her insides trembled with fear and loathing. The man stared at her, puzzled by the question. What do you mean? Where are the flowers, the champagne? I was imagining a romantic candle at dinner, and you immediately kiss. I didn't expect to take a complete stranger without foreplay. I'm told you're a skillful lover. We should get to know each other a little first, and save the best for later. I agree. The bouquet and confection period in our case is a little irrelevant, but still I wanted to prepare for the main event of the night. Yes, he mumbled something under his breath. I wasn't thinking. It's a very important day. I'm entering adulthood. You're my first man, and I'd like it to be beautiful. Why are you in such a hurry? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. What are you doing? Eh? She playfully poked him in his slightly bulging belly with her finger. Did you want to save money on me? Or did you want to get me in bed right away? Is that really all you can offer me on a first date? She was on the edge of her seat, fear of the unknown forcing her to act brazenly. Isabella grabbed his tie, pulled him toward her. She didn't think that such an experienced lover would decide to dispense with the love game. The girl wrapped the tie around her fist. Christian blushed. It became hard for him to breathe. You witch, barely catching his breath. The man wheezed. This has never happened to me before. I like you, and I want you now. He suddenly grasped her slender wrists and yanked her sharply toward him. He forcefully put her on his lap and tried to kiss her, one hand holding her down, the other hand running under her blouse and squeezing her breasts. How hot you are, a delicate innocent flower. Let's go to the bedroom. I am overwhelmed with desire to possess you. Ah, you old lecher. Isabella shrieked and slapped him hard. What are you doing, bitch? Christian howled and grabbed his cheek. Taking advantage of the confusion, the girl jumped to her feet and ran a safe distance away from the excited man. She stopped by the hotly burning fireplace and grabbed a poker. Don't come near me. I'll defend myself. Don't expect to get away with this. Wilson hissed, rubbing his cheek, hot with fire. You seem to have forgotten where you are and why you're here. Don't make me angry. I can take you by force right now. Don't play with me or you'll regret it. I don't want to, she shouted, looking at him with a burning, feverish gleam in her eyes. How do you want it, my dear? He smirked. Rose petals in bed? Light music? Soft whispers and poetry reading until morning? I'm past that age. I prefer to spend my time making love. That goes without saying, but not now. The girl sat in the chair across from Christian. I propose a wager. A wager? Christian's eyes widened. Do you realize who you're offering this to? Isabella remembered a conversation with a friend who said that Wilson was a gambler. Yes, the girl declared defiantly. You're a gambler, but if you sleep with me, what's the interest? In a week at the most, you'll be satiated and kicked out of the house. Thank you if you'll pay for the first night in bed with a virgin. Naturally, I'll thank you. Insert man. No woman would accuse me of being stingy. Money, jewelry, I am a generous lover. That's understandable, but I suggest you entertain yourself in another way. Admit it. Do all your days resemble one another? Perhaps. Christian is wary. You boast that women never complain about you. I've heard that many try to get your attention and swear eternal love just for the money. You buy women, change them like gloves, and not one has ever said she loved you out of her heart and not for wealth. Yes, everyone's happy to be in your bed. I don't see where you're going with this, do you? Wilson frowned. He was beginning to be annoyed by this willful girl. But I'm not one of them, and you're not my type. That's not the kind of man I've seen around me. Isabella paused meaningfully. But if you manage to make me love you, I will become yours without any additional conditions. Do what you want with me then, and when I get bored, you can throw me out on the street. And the second condition? But if you yourself fell in love with me to unconsciousness, then I will still become yours, but only through the registration of marriage. You will make me your lawful wife, with all the consequences." Wilson laughed out loud. "Do you know that I never lose?" "We'll see about that." The girl grinned. "Don't hope that the problem is so easy to solve. But I still don't understand. What is the bet?" "You'll be mine either way." He accepted her game. She hooked him, and the excitement of the gambler flared up in him. He liked the girl more and more. That's true, but everything must be consensual, without coercion. Those are the only terms we'll agree to with you. Do you agree? To hell with you. Wilson waved his hand. But now I want to make love to you. I've already put this moment off for too long. I didn't bring you here for a heart-to-heart. He made an attempt to get closer to her. No. Isabella gestured for him to stop. Nothing can happen between us now. You yourself agreed to my proposal. For the rest of the bet, no bed. We agreed to make love consensually. Are you ready to sign off on your own loss? That doesn't sound like you. So now we're going to separate rooms and that's it? Of course. Isabella explained impatiently, like an unreasonable child. That's the point of our pact, to fall in love for real. And then either you get me or I get you. And at the end of the bet, we'll have a long married life. You won't lose anything at all. You'll only get me a little later. But you'll taste the victory when it's over. An unforgettable night in the arms of a virgin. What, Mr. Wilson, is it weak? Squinting, the girl asked. Not a bit. The man replied defiantly. How long do you suggest? 3 months. How? Enough time and your experience of seduction, young fools, to win my heart? Or have you already lost your youthful vigor? That you can't do anything but skim off the cream by sleeping with an innocent girl. And I thought I was an alpha male, a heroic lover. But in reality, alas, a banal suitor, unable to give pleasure to a woman. You know how to hit a nerve. The man was sure of his victory. Wait, you'll still be at my feet, lying at my feet, begging for love and tenderness. He thought, you'll be begging me not to leave you. Well, the offer is tempting. Christian said slowly, my life has lacked spice. The reward for the tedious 3-month wait will be an unforgettable night with you. Without doubting my success, the more I really won't lose anything. Just 3 months and you're mine. So, do we have a deal? Isabella held out her hand to the man. Deal. He shook it with his strong hand. And you yourself will be able to endure 3 months? The girl was silent. You won't. Isabella grinned to herself. I'll never love you, and I'll never be your lover. I'm not likely to win over a man so adept at lovemaking. I just need to buy time, and then I'll decide what to do next. Little fool, you don't know I've never lost a game in my life. Wilson thought, looking at the girl with eyes darkened with passion. With what pleasure he would now undress her and show her what he could do. But he decided to see what would come of the bet. And you agreed to her terms? Laughed at him Buddy when Christian, over a shot of cognac, a few days later told him about the pair. Yes, I agreed to endure these months. It's worth it. You don't realize how seductive she is, and you hope she'll fall in love with you. I do. Arrogant, Wilson declared. You know I'm an expert in female psychology. In a month at the most, she will surrender to the mercy of the winner, and I will triumph, having gained power over this little girl who thinks herself a seductress of men's hearts. In fact, I'll be her first man. Christian? His friend looked at him suspiciously. Have you fallen in love with your prisoner? Even if I do, the man said evasively, the reward will not be long in coming. She's still mine. And you're ready to take her to register the marriage? That would be fun. Wilson laughed, but I haven't decided whether I'm ready to give up my freedom for another pretty face. although I must say she is clever. Isabella, however, has hit a nerve, Christian. Hoping to knock her down with the romance of a summer evening, he decided to organize a fancy dinner on his yacht. She wouldn't be able to resist. He told the captain, "No matter how hard she tries to play hard to get, she will not be able to remain indifferent to a ride on a luxury boat." "I'm sure." The captain smiled understandingly. "She will reciprocate. No frills," he ordered the chef. "A girl from the orphanage will feel uncomfortable. Champagne, appetizers, fruit, dessert. I got it, Christian. Anything else?" "Captain, have the deck decorated with balloons and musicians. I want some light music. We'll walk along the coast. The girl will love it." "I got it." Captain trumped. "Should we count on a night?" "No. For 3 to 4 hours, I think for the first time is enough, she will dance with joy." The man grinned. "What has she seen in her orphanage? Let her see how rich people live. I hope she'll appreciate my impulse. No one has ever been indifferent to an evening spent on a yacht. I think she'll be no exception." The night before the party, Wilson checked everything, made sure his orders were followed exactly. "Isabella, I want to invite you to dinner." The man expected that the girl would be interested in his proposal, but she looked at him indifferently and said, "But I do not understand you. Rich, ready to spend money left and right. Don't know where to put it? Give it to charity. Why go out when I've made a nice dinner at home? I'm a pretty good cook, don't you think? It's not just any dinner." Barely containing his irritation, Christian said, "I'm taking you for a walk along the river." "Yes." Isabella couldn't hide her interest. "But then that changes everything." She jumped to her feet. "I'm ready." "You're going to go in that?" The man was surprised, looking at her worn jeans and stretched t-shirt. "Why, it's not like we're going to a restaurant." Pretending to be a fool, the girl replied, and then she laughed. "Relax, Christian. Give me half an hour and I'll clean myself up. You didn't take my words seriously, did you? We were not taught to behave like this in society, but I know the elementary rules of etiquette." When Isabella emerged from the room, Wilson gasped. Before him stood a gorgeous woman in a dark dress, just above the knees. Her breasts were adorned with a simple gold chain and pendant, and her thick mane of dark brown hair fell loosely around her shoulders. Light makeup made expressive, lively, green eyes. Slender legs in low-heeled shoes were striking. Christian swallowed nervously, imagining how he would caress those beautiful legs. "I'm shocked." It was all he could say, wondering what kind of underwear she was wearing now. "Are we going?" Looking at him haughtily, the girl asked. "Yes, please." The man ushered her into the car. The ship swayed impatiently on the waves. Waiting for the guests, the captain met them on deck, helped them to board gallantly, bowed his head at the sight of the girl. "Good evening," he greeted. "Glad to see you aboard the Aurora. Isabella, would you care for a glass of champagne?" Wilson asked, waving his hand to the waiter. "It will add a little romantic flavor to our evening, and also—" He waved again. "I love music. Do you mind?" In the dim light of the lanterns, 3 musicians appeared, playing a quiet, slow song. "Do you like it?" The man asked his guest, taking a sip of his glass. He took out a gold bracelet from his pocket and put it on Isabella's thin wrist. "I bought it for you." "It's beautiful," the girl replied discreetly. "Is this how you won the hearts of your mistresses? Were they ready to jump into bed with you?" She glanced indifferently at her vis-a-vis. "I wonder how much money you intend to spend on my seduction. I expected something more extraordinary. You obviously have problems with imagination. Did you really expect me to fall for this cheap romantic nonsense? No, I'm glad you're paying attention, but I was expecting something a little more sophisticated. I hope. She shivered, showing she was cold. We won't have to spend the night. You. Boiling, Christian. Ungrateful little brat. What have you seen in your life? Dinner aboard a yacht, with a rich man, the limit of your dreams. I can't believe you don't like it here. Why not? Isabella said calmly. I like it, but I dreamed of it when I was 14. Now I've wised up. It's all contrived, momentary. In half an hour we will finish champagne, eat dessert, and then you will try to seduce me, heated by alcohol. How vulgar, and not at all reciprocated. What do you want? Barely containing the anger ready to burst out. Wilson asked, I don't know. Isabella shrugged. Before you hit me in the heart, I want my soul to turn around and soar. For now, she stood up resolutely from the table. I want to go ashore. So everything I've arranged here, he gestured for the musicians to leave. You don't like it? I didn't say I didn't like it. The girl answered evasively. I said it was too corny to win a woman's heart. All right then, let's go home. They said goodbye to the captain, who gave them a long and surprised look. At home, they went to their rooms. What can I seduce you with? Christian was racking his brain. What? A friend of his told him about his unsuccessful attempt to win a girl's heart. You couldn't handle a hottie? You're getting old, brother. You can't use your old tricks, can you? I should have gotten involved with her. Christian cursed in his heart. I don't know what she wants. Think of something unusual, by the way. I give you an idea. Take her abroad. She probably has not been there. The youth of today, they can't wait to go there. For a poor orphan, it's enough to impress her for a year. Why? The man's on fire. It's not a bad idea. If I get what I want, I'll thank you. You don't have to thank me. I was already wondering how it would end. It's been 2 weeks since Christian prepared the trip abroad. Isabella, smiling enigmatically, he announced, tomorrow you and I are going on a trip. I hope we won't have to take a boat this time. I can't reveal all the details to you yet. Trust me. Wear loose clothes so you'll be comfortable. I have one condition. What's that? The girl looked at him suspiciously. I'll blindfold you. Until a certain point, you must not know where we are going. Agreed? Do you have to be blindfolded? Yes, otherwise it won't be a surprise. Isabella was blindfolded and brought to the airport. Christian helped her aboard a private plane, and only there was allowed to remove the blindfold. An airplane? The girl asked excitedly, looking out the porthole. All my life, I dreamed of flying in an airplane at least once, so I managed to impress you. Let's put it this way. Isabella said discreetly, I like the fact that we're going somewhere. I'm sorry. A few hours later, Wilson informed. I have to blindfold you again. Isabella was elated in her heart. She had dreamed of traveling for so long. They crossed the helicopter. I want to see where we are. Isabella fidgeted impatiently in the seat. Be patient. The man stopped her. Soon you'll see everything. When the engine died down, Wilson untied the blindfold. Where are we? Isabella exhaled in disbelief. On the roof? We're on a rooftop in Paris, and there's dinner waiting for us. He held out his hand to her and led the way. The girl's breath was taken away by the beauty. The city was visible as in the palm of her hand. The warm wind was developing her dark hair. It was a little scary, but Isabella didn't give any sign. Callie will not believe that I saw the Eiffel Tower with my own eyes. The girl thought. Her heart fluttered with joy, but she didn't want to admit that she was overwhelmed by the incredible adventure. Christian seated her at a table. A waiter appeared from somewhere with a bottle of wine. Another brought hot food. The waitstaff tried to be discreet. "Do you like it?" The man asked, seeing how her green eyes lit up. "I can't say I wasn't moved. It's a little trip," Isabella said. "But I don't understand. Why spend money on meaningless things? I wanted to do something nice for myself. To throw so much money away for an hour's dinner? That's just stupid. Are you trying to make me angry on purpose?" The man spoke softly in a voice that didn't bode well. "Yes, anyone in your place would kiss my feet after such a trip and pray to God for me. I don't see a queue of people falling at your feet in the house." The girl sneered. "Don't forget yourself." He flared up. "I can take you back to where I got you. I'm sick of your antics. So you're admitting defeat? What are you trying to do?" "I'm waiting for you to admit you lost my bet. Where's that famous seduction technique you've been bragging about on every corner? All you know how to do is throw money around. Of course, what better way to impress a silly orphan than with crisp bills? That's all you're capable of. It doesn't bother me. But that's it. I'm sick of you." Christian turned white with anger. "We're going back immediately. I didn't know you were so nervous." Looking regretfully at Paris lying at her feet, the girl said, "If we are here, why not enjoy the view of the City of Lovers? If I am not mistaken, it is also called the City of Lights." The walk along the rooftops was over. "The man's up. You ruined it." A few hours later, they were home. You won the bet," the man announced. "I'm trying to shake you up, and you're like an impregnable fortress under siege. Everything's wrong with you. Everything's wrong with you. You don't like jewelry. You don't like flowers because you have to throw them away. I don't understand what you want. Any woman in your place would have been happy to share my bed, but you persist in pretending indifference. I don't want to continue this game. I'm sick of it, and I don't want to see you either. So pack your things and get out of my house. Everything I gave you, keep it, and get the hell out of here. I want to forget you like a bad dream. Don't you ever set eyes on me again. If you say so." The girl shrugged her shoulders. "Don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone that you can't impress a modern woman with anything. If you say another word," clenched his fists, gritted through his teeth Wilson. "I will not vouch for myself. Will you allow yourself to hit a woman?" She made big eyes, and her heart sank into her heels at the sight of the enraged man. Isabella did not try her luck, silently packed up and left. "Well, what have you achieved?" she pondered, walking through the streets of the city. Left at a broken trough, what to do now? In the most difficult moments, she dialed a familiar number. "Hello, girlfriend. Isabella." She heard a cheerful exclamation on the other end of the line. "I was so afraid for you. I thought you weren't answering your cell phone. What if something terrible happened? I've heard such horror stories about your Wilson. He's not mine." Isabella cut it off. "Don't listen to the gossips. Tell me, how are you doing? I'm wandering around town, wondering what I'm gonna do. Christian kicked me out the door." "That's news." Kelly was amazed. "What are you thinking about? Coming to the orphanage? Or do you want to go back to him? You know, I think he fell in love with me like a boy. I got what I wanted. I made him lose his head. That's why he's mad. What about you? What about me? I don't even like him. Then what are you thinking about? Come back. You'll be welcome here. What am I going to do there? It's too late to go to college. I can't find a place to live right away. Wilson left me some money, of course, but how much is enough? And anyway, why am I showing off?" Suddenly she said, "Marriage to such a man would open many doors. A modeling agency certainly wouldn't be an obstacle. Isabella, are you crazy? You don't love him. Can you imagine what it's like to live with someone you don't love? So what? I don't care if he loves me. I'm looking forward to marriage with him. I don't recognize you, friend, the girl said sadly. You've never been calculating. I didn't expect to be ambitious myself, but with his help I was able to realize all the plans I had made in the orphanage. Aren't you happy for me? His money will open any door. Isn't that what we dreamed of? Are you really willing to live with a man you don't love? His love is enough for the two of us. Isabella shrugged. I've been tormented by doubts, and now that I've talked to you, I'm sure I must go back to him. Isabella, come to your senses, wailed her friend. I know what I'm doing. I'm thinking more rationally now than ever. Bye. Thanks for listening. Isabella hurried home. She hesitantly opened the door, afraid of being ostracized, and reappeared. Wilson was sitting at the table. A bottle of whiskey stood beside her, almost half empty. And that's you? The man looked at her with a cloudy stare. Why did you come here? To make fun of me? Yes, you failed. Who doesn't? I came to tell you that I've agreed to marry you. An unexpected decision. He grinned wryly. I lost, didn't I? If you remember, there was a second part to the bet. If you fall in love with me, we go to register the marriage. You do love me, don't you? What does that change? It changes everything. I agreed to be your wife. You haven't changed your mind about marrying me, have you? Change your mind? Christian sobered up immediately. Yes, I've been dreaming of calling you my wife for months. He reached into his jacket pocket and took out a gold ring with a large diamond. You see, I even bought a ring for my future wife. I didn't think it would come in handy so soon. He stood up, walked over to Isabella, took her hand, and put the expensive ring on her ring finger. Will you marry me? Yes, Isabella answered decisively, though it felt as if she had jumped into a whirlpool. Isabella, hello. Hear the woman in the phone, a familiar voice of a friend. Hello, sobbing Isabella answered. Are you crying? Kelly was worried. I hate him. The woman confessed. He ruined my whole life. He hit me. Again? Terrified, exclaimed the girlfriend. Yes, Isabella cried. He came in drunk. I just asked him where he'd been all night, and then he started. He yelled that it was none of my business, and then he hit me. Good thing my son didn't see. I don't understand what happened to him. You always said he loved you. He did, but then it went away, and it all started when I had Brian. He still can't forgive me for finishing college, and I wanted to study. I wasn't going to bury myself in housework. He didn't like it. Good for you for not giving in and finishing your degree, even if it was by correspondence. It's a popular specialty, finance and credit. If something happens, you can always provide for yourself and your son. That's when we started to have disagreements. He was jealous of every pillar. You should have seen how mad he got when I hired a nanny for our boy so I could study. That's when he started hitting the bottle. He'd get drunk. He'd get out of control. The first time he hit me was when I accused him of cheating. You should have heard the way he screamed. I thought he was gonna kill me. Since then, he's never been shy about laying a hand on me. I don't envy you. I think I'm happy. I never felt happy, and now I don't feel happy at all. Alcohol has changed him beyond recognition. No trace of his former love for me. He's disappeared from home more and more often. I know for a fact that he spends his time in the company of strange women. Do you know how disgusting it is to see him with lipstick on his collar? Are you going to put up with that? No, of course not. I kept quiet for a long time, hoping he'd come to his senses, but every year it gets worse. How does he run the firm? That's the point. The firm was starting to die. I realized if I didn't take over, we'd go bankrupt sooner or later. You're doing great. You're gonna do great. Yeah, but I've never worked a day in my specialty. So what? Prove to him and to yourself that you're worth something. You were the smartest among us. You can do it. Isabella puzzled over which side of the firm to revitalize. The first thing she decided to do was to talk to her husband about her son. Christian, I need to consult with you. Having had a moment when he was relatively sober, the woman spoke. What do you want from me? He was irritated, his head ached, he wanted a drink, but Isabella had locked herself in the study with him and wouldn't let him have one. Give me a drink, demanded the man. No, the woman said firmly. Let's talk first. You didn't get anything mixed up. What are you doing bossing me around? Have you forgotten where you belong? I might remind you, if you don't listen to me now, we both risk the abyss. She bravely endured his ominous stare. Well, speak, yes, quickly. I want to send my son to study abroad. What on earth are you talking about? The Christian burst into a fit of rage. I will not give my consent. You'll have to agree. Isabella said calmly, I'm sending him away because I don't have the opportunity to pay much attention to him. Explain? If you don't know, our firm's business is bad. You don't have time to deal with it. You've had other interests lately. The woman sneered. None of your business. Christian snapped at her. I'm fed up with you. Do you think I've forgotten that you decided to study without consulting me? My knowledge will come in handy now. I want to try to keep our firm afloat. What? The man laughed. You. What do you know about business? Without me, you're nothing. If I want, our business will go up, and you take care of the house and the child, and do not interfere where you are not asked. Right now, I need to intervene. I demand that you authorize me to sign documents. On what grounds do you demand it? On the grounds that I'm your lawfully wedded wife. You're going to ruin the firm. We won't lose anything. It'll be dead soon enough, and if I can save the business, fine, to hell with you. You've already succeeded once with me. The man snorted. Call a notary, I'll issue a permit. After all, I can always cancel all contracts. I think you won't have to blush for me. And Isabella began to master. Christian at first freaked out, and when he realized that his wife gradually began to get everything, sang blackly of his own impotence. How many times? The woman was indignant. You drink every day. I need your help so much. Why? You're doing a great job already. But you're experienced, you know the firm inside and out, and I have to learn everything all over again. I told you you couldn't do it. I can handle it. Isabella was stubborn. Just don't drink, please. She had no idea that a healthy-looking man could fall victim to an insidious disease. One night she stayed late at work. Why is it so quiet at home? Isabella wondered as she entered the living room. Christian, where are you? Did you go to bed already? I need your advice. I think I've figured out why things aren't going well. She looked into the kitchen. Her husband was nowhere to be found. She opened the bedroom door and was horrified. Christian, what's wrong? Isabella rushed to her husband, who was lying on the floor with his arm tucked under him. Christian, don't frighten me. The man mumbled, writhing in pain as his wife tried to lift him up. Christian? Isabella cried, startled by the realization. You're having a stroke. Wait, I'll call an ambulance. She called the doctor, asked the guards to move her husband to the couch. Unfortunately, you're right, Christian is having a stroke. Confirmed my worst guesses, doctor. His right side is paralyzed. I'll prescribe therapy, of course, but whether he'll make a full recovery, I can't say. We don't know exactly how long it was before you found him. The outcome of the disease depends on that. Doctor. Isabella grabbed the man's arm fearfully. I beg you, don't tell anyone that Christian is paralyzed. If partners and competitors find out about his condition, our business will be ruined. I'll repay you whatever you say, and I'll pay you for your silence. Good. The doctor looked at the woman in surprise. It's up to you. You're in shock now. We'll talk later. One more favor. Help me find a professional nurse for him. That won't be a problem. I promise I'll find the best one. What am I supposed to do now? Pray to God and don't give up hope. Christian, young man, he'll do fine. Isabella is immersed in business. Not a living soul knew that Christian lay a vegetable in their big house. Only the nurse and the cook were allowed to see him. Isabella. One day the secretary informed her. A rival firm wants to see you. What is it? Isabella felt a chill go through her. They didn't say, but they've set up a meeting for tomorrow at the cafe. Well, let them know I'm ready to meet. Oh, and tell the chief accountant I'm expecting 6 months' worth of returns. Half an hour later, the chief accountant showed up. Isabella, he began. I don't understand why you're digging through old reports. Chuckling to himself in a mustache, the man asked, why should such a pretty head have to bother with such dull figures? Christian, check them. I don't think you'll find anything interesting there. I'm interested. Try not to lose her composure, the woman replied. To understand why lately we've had lucrative deals fall through, why the materials we partially paid for don't arrive on time. You can answer me these questions, can't you? Well, my dear, stretching words and hinting that she knows nothing about the affairs of the construction company, said the chief accountant. It happens, sometimes deals are broken and suppliers let down. It's all business. I need a full report and analysis of the working firm. If you can't give clear answers to my questions, I won't keep you. You're firing me. The man's eyes widened in surprise. I do not need people who do not cope with their duties and also let you openly laugh at the head of the firm. You're not the head of the firm. As long as my husband is sick, I am the head of the firm. If you don't want to follow my orders, the door's over there. Do you understand? Instead of helping me to save the firm, you're sticking your fingers in my wheel. Christian is sick, and you're happy to tear up his life's work, you ingrates. My husband has done so much for you. I see you get a good salary, go, work, and that by the evening, the report was on my desk. Isabella said firmly. Shocked by her rebuff, the chief accountant silently went to his office. Can you imagine? The man was indignant. She told me off like a boy. I've been working in this company for 20 years, she, without a year a week, and already in full command. Who is she anyway? Supported his colleague. We have never seen her before in our lives. They say she has not worked. How will she be able to save the company? Did Christian buy her diploma? Yeah, someone gets gold, but she gets a diploma. With that kind of knowledge, she shouldn't be in business. How did she manage to marry Christian? He was a confirmed bachelor. Don't you know how girls like that get married? With a figure like that, a face like that, you could seduce anyone. I can't wait for Christian to come back to us. I know in my heart she'll bring the firm to a standstill. I wonder how she'll sort out the accounts. She probably only knows how to spend money. Why are you going after her? Isabella's got an advocate. Let her try, see if it works out. Christian will be back, and her competitors aren't dormant. You mark my words, they'll try to get their hands on the firm. The next day, Isabella came to the cafe to meet with a representative of a rival firm. What did you want to tell me? Without further ado, the woman asked, How's your health, Christian? By your prayers. I don't think you asked me here to ask about Christian's health. Tell me what you wanted to say. I don't have much time. It has come to our attention, the man spoke softly, that your firm has been experiencing some difficulties in recent months. We'd like to help. Help how? We'd like to buy your firm out of your problems. Why would a pretty woman like you take on a huge business? You don't know much about construction, to put it mildly. Yes, things are a little rough right now, but it's only temporary. Barely restraining, ready to burst out of emotion, said Isabella. We are not going to sell the business. Christian is seriously ill. Will he be able to return to the management of the company? Don't doubt it. He is already on the mend. Perhaps we could meet him then and talk things over. Maybe he'd be interested in our offer. He's got his health to worry about, and the problems at work could aggravate his illness. Shouldn't you be so worried about my husband's health? The doctors are doing all the necessary procedures to get him back on his feet. And by the way, they don't recommend disturbing him. As I said, we have no plans to sell the firm. My husband is in the loop, and I'm coordinating with him. As far as I'm concerned, the business is in a critical state, and we're offering a good price. No, don't persuade me. My husband will soon get back on his feet and figure things out on his own, but in the meantime, I'm doing a good job of running the firm. I hear the employees don't trust you very much. I wonder how you know so much about our firm. Oh, I get it. There's an inside man on the payroll. Let's not talk about that. The man avoided answering. If you'll excuse me, I have to go. Isabella got up from the table. We had nothing more to talk about, so you'll consider our offer? I won't be able to offer such a favorable price next time. My answer is no. Isabella flew to work. We have a mole. How did I not realize? She thought. That explains everything. My job is to find it, and the sooner the better. She meticulously studied every document, even taking her work home. There in silence, she worked easier than under the gaze of subordinates, who frankly laughed behind her back, skeptical of her ability to pull the firm out of a series of bad deals. Imagine that. She complained to her friend. They don't take me seriously. No wonder. Callie laughed. With the way you look. Who's gonna believe you're good at accounting? That you're so smart. I have to find the mole, or our competitors will be working ahead of us. Think, analyze, concentrate, and then everything will work out. And Isabella, day after day, got deeper and deeper into her work. Explain it to me, please. Looking at the contracts, she asked the chief engineer, how come we refused to build a shopping center on such a profitable site? So their geodesist surveyed and concluded that the soil is not suitable for construction. Then why did the competitors start construction on this very territory? I don't know. The man was embarrassed. Who made the decision not to build? That's how he stopped talking. The address of the surveyors who did the report. So he hesitated. That's right. Their firm closed down. How is that possible? Why are you being so secretive? Get me the chief accountant right away. He paid for the work done, right? He must know the address of the company. The chief accountant entered the office cautiously, explained how it happened that the firm, which made a conclusion about the state of the soil on the site on which they planned to build a shopping center, closed immediately after signing the papers. Give me its address. I'll go to deal with it myself. So know the address? Mumbled the chief accountant. I wonder how many plots we lost because of this fake firm. The men looked at each other in silence. You both immediately write a letter of resignation. Isabella ordered quietly but firmly. You have no right to fire us. The chief engineer shrieked. We were hired by Christian. Don't you dare poke me. I'm in charge of personnel here now. Get out, both of you. Isabella, the receptionist came flying in. How could you fire the most responsible employees? Christian wouldn't allow it. Christian didn't realize that these responsible employees had recently started working for the competition. Simply put, they were selling out, betraying their boss. If you don't agree with my decision, I will quickly find a replacement for you. Isabella looked at the girl expectantly. She shamefully kept silent. That's fine. Now you need to find replacements for these two honorable people. It is better if it will be found among our employees. Okay, I understand, but what should I tell the staff? I'll figure it out. The girl left, and Isabella took a deep breath, then got up and went to the conference room. Gather me the heads of departments in accounting. I need a lawyer immediately. Right away. The secretary looked at Isabella with respect. 10 minutes later, everyone was gathered in the hall. I fired 2 employees. After a thorough investigation of the firm, it turned out that they were working for competitors. Now I believe our business will be more successful. I need your support. Christian has stepped aside for now. I'll need time to sort things out. If anyone is unhappy with the woman at the helm of the firm, they can report it immediately. The rest of you, I demand full commitment. If you have any candidates in mind, I don't mind reviewing their resumes. Any questions? Then let's get to work. The employees came out of the meeting puzzled. So much for the model. They marveled, and we laughed at her, but she was so clever. Even Christian could not find the moles, and she quickly identified them. So how could those who started the firm with him be suspicious? Don't get too excited before the competition finds out Christian's doing badly. If no one tells, maybe it'll be all right. But the competitors weren't dormant. Wilson's business was too tasty. They were getting closer and closer to the firm, probing for weaknesses. Isabella realized their lost interest was temporary. Isabella. One day, a secretary came flying into the office. I tried to stop them, but you shouldn't try to stop me. Pushing the secretary away, a handsome young man entered the office with a brisk stride. Isabella noted his lean figure, thick, dark hair, and brown eyes that glowed with mockery. He sat down in the chair uninvited. It's nothing to worry about. The woman calmed the secretary. I'll take care of it. Who are you? She asked as the door closed behind the girl. My name is Charles. I'm offering to sell me your firm. What makes you think I'm going to sell it? I'm aware of your problems. You're not the first to know my problems, but I'm the first to tell you we're gonna get this thing back on track. If you have no more questions for me, please leave the office. You're interfering with my work, or I'll have to call security. I know Christian is paralyzed. He can't go back to work, and you don't know anything about construction. I'm amazed at your knowledge. Isabella looked mockingly at the intruder, but her heart clenched with fear. But Christian will be fine, and I'm not bad with finances, for your information. I'll make sure you can't sign any lucrative contracts. Are you threatening me? In return, when Christian comes back to the firm, and he will, you'll be in trouble. We have a good reputation. You will not be able to ruin the business. If you do not leave, I will dig up dirt on you. I've already got material on how you've been diverting customers away from us through front men. I'll make it public. Are you willing to risk it? You bet your ass I will. Christian will back me up. He knows everything that goes on around the firm. If you try to destroy us, I won't stand by and retaliate. Bitch, the man hissed. It was nice to meet you. The woman smiled through force. She was nervous, her lips trembling. I dare not delay you any longer. I'm leaving, but I'll be back. Good riddance. Left alone, Isabella, without strength, leaned back in her chair and cried. Isabella, are you all right? Alarmed, her secretary asked, entering the office after the guest had left. Would you like me to make you some tea? Thank you, I'd appreciate it. And you are good, the secretary said, putting a cup with steaming tea. No one believed that you could manage the firm. I didn't believe it myself. Tiredly replied the woman. I had to learn no one knows what will happen to us next. I will not be left alone for a long time, these businessmen. You have successfully won the first battle. I think this is just the beginning. How much do I miss Christian? He's been in a borderline state for almost a month. There was a phone call. Isabella? The woman on the phone heard the excited voice of the nurse. Christian, he's awake. Roger, on my way. What's wrong? The secretary asked, seeing the change in her face. Christian came to his senses. I'm leaving now. Don't tell anyone yet. Isabella hurried home. She didn't know how she saw her husband and was afraid to meet him. Are you here? He turned his head at the sound of the creaking door. Christian spoke slurred. Isabella rather read his lips what he said. He was pale, a wry grin on his face, saliva flowing helplessly from the corner of his mouth. I'm glad you've come to your senses. She crouched carefully beside him on the bed, wiped his chin with a napkin. Leave us alone, she asked the nurse. How are you? There is no more of me, just a semblance of a human being. The man tried to smile. His face twisted even more. What about the firm? Did you manage to sell it? I managed to save the firm. You did? Christian's eyes flashed first with bewilderment, then surprise, then joy, then tears. I didn't believe in you. I was sure we were ruined. Think about it. How could I let everything you've built up over the years go to waste? How did you do it? I scrutinized the documents and found the moles. Who? The man marveled. Who are they? Your main assistants. I don't believe it. It's a good thing I didn't have an old friendship with them. I couldn't trust anyone, so I evaluated everyone with a cold head, and that's how I found the traitors. And our business immediately went better. The staff found in the firm, people responsible, most importantly, they believed me. It was difficult to shut the mouth of competitors. They were ready to swallow us, but it was not to be. I am not one of the fearful. I remember. Christian grinned with difficulty. I was able to fend off the first 2 attacks. The woman was silent, but we hope for your recovery. That you've come to your senses is a good sign. I'm not deceived. He looked at his wife carefully. And I realize my present condition is only a temporary improvement. I feel I don't have much time left. Don't say that. Hotly, Isabella exclaimed. You'll make it. No, I'm done for. I'm not getting my hopes up. He closed his eyes and was silent. Tell me, did you love me a little? He asked, after a moment's pause, looking pitifully at his wife. Don't lie to me. I want to know the truth. No. Quietly confessed the woman. I never loved you. I knew I felt you didn't love me, but I had hoped so much to be wrong. You're legendary in business circles, even have your own admirers. Ah, she picked up on Charles' mocking tone. I thought you were here to take over the firm again. I have another suggestion. Why don't we merge our firms? I'm doing fine. I don't need anyone's help. Isabella. Charles came very close to her, handed her flowers. She buried her face in them, savoring the fragrance. I liked you right away, that memorable meeting. I didn't expect to be rebuffed. I was told you were a beautiful doll with no brains, but I realized from the first minute that you were a smart and confident woman. I was afraid to admit even to myself that I was in love. You know, it happens, but you were married at the time, and then the funeral. I didn't want to be intrusive. I decided to wait, but now you're free. Why can't I tell you that I like you? And you come to me so easily after the threats I heard from you in my office? Forgive me, I'm ready to beg your forgiveness. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. In the fight against the competition, all means are good. I'm sorry. I realized long ago that I was wrong. You have a good tongue. Isabella laughed. It's the excitement, Charles confessed. What is it? Can I expect reciprocation? Charles, the woman grew serious. I do not want to give you hope, so I confess at once, I am not ready for a serious relationship. I've had some unfortunate experiences in married life. I'm just now beginning to live, to breathe. I was deprived of all this for many years to break free from dependence on my husband. It cost me a lot of labor and nerves. You can't imagine what I've been through. To go back into the care of another man? No way. I assure you, I won't restrict your freedom. I wish I could believe you, but I can't. Is there any hope that someday you'll reciprocate? I don't know. We don't know each other very well. Well, let's get to know each other. Charles came to life. I'm inviting you to a restaurant tonight. No need. Isabella headed for the car. I like to have dinner at home with my son. How do you feel about children, by the way? I didn't know you had a son. The man was surprised. Christian never talked about him. He probably never said anything about me either. The woman grinned. Yes, I have a son, and you'll have to earn his favor if you're going to court me. Did I scare you? So you'll let me court you? I'm ready. The persistent suitor has perked up. Invite me to visit. I want to make sure that you are not only smart and beautiful, but also a good cook. If that's the case, then you're definitely my woman. Isabella got into the car, started it, carefully placed the bouquet next to her. The man looked at her with regret. Suddenly, she rolled down the window. If you want, come to visit me on Sunday afternoon. I'll introduce you to my son and feed you lunch. I'll definitely come. Charles exclaimed joyfully, looking at the car in which the amazing woman was sitting. I won't let you go anywhere. He promised. I will do everything I can to make you learn to trust again. My love can warm your soul. I promise you that we will be happy.